Now, as some of you guys might know, that I am a massive tomato geek. I love growing them, I love eating them, and I love making sauce and everything out of them. But there are masses of different varieties out there. I'll scroll through a very quick list here. Well, it's a long list, but there are masses of different varieties out there, and it can be quite daunting trying to figure out which ones you want to grow in your own backyard. So what I have behind me are Romas, and I thought I might go through a list and go through just basically how I prepare them and that sort of stuff as I go through waffling on about them. So these ones here are Romas, and they are a fantastic sourcing tomato. They are a bush variety, which means that they're a determined variety that will grow to a certain size and then basically die out. But the good thing about these ones is that, as you can see, they all ripen up within a couple of weeks of each other, and you just get masses and masses and masses of fruit off these. If you guys just wanted tomatoes just for making sauce out of, then these ones are the ones for you, and they can produce a hell of a lot of tomatoes. Now, these tomatoes here are the ones that I've just pulled off about 6 plants. And there is still probably about the same amount as, again, already that aren't quite ripe yet. Now, they're not perfect fruit. Some of them have got sunspots that have been damaged, some of them have been eaten through a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be making masses of sauce out of these ones. And that is where Romas come in very, very handy. So I'm going to take you guys in and show you guys how I'm going to start processing these up, and then I'm going to show you some more sauce up tomatoes and the uses that you get out of those ones, because they've all got masses of different uses that they can go towards. It doesn't just have to be for sauce. You can make it for salads, you can make it for beefsteak sandwiches, so sandwiches that you just cut into slices, and different tomatoes come in very handy for different sorts of applications. So I'm going to take these guys in and show you guys how I process these ones up. Now, first thing that I like to do is to give them a good rinse, because they have been outside, they've been bug ridden, they've been all that sort of fun stuff. So I whack them all into the bowl. I whack as many as fit into the thing. The first thing I like to do is to collect some seeds, because these ones will give me the best fruit from next year and the strongest plants, because they're so much used to my environment, my everything, and every season that goes past I'll get better. So I like to pick a few of my favorite fruits, some of the ones that are biggest, and then basically squeeze all the juice straight into there. So basically I'm just getting the fruit out and keeping the seeds. Now I like to have the fermentation method for collecting my seeds, because I find that it just works so much easier than any other that I got. So I like to collect more seeds than what I need, because I can give them away, and if anybody wants some, I can pass them on pretty easily. Okay, now that is probably enough seed, more seed than what I'm going to need, but this seed will give me the strongest seed for next year. So the strongest plant will come out of seeds that I've collected. So I'm going to put some cling wrap over the top of this and basically let it ferment and get nasty for a few days. Then you basically drain out the juice, keep the seeds will settle to the bottom, keep on draining it out until you get a nice mixture at the end of the day. But on to the next bit, I am going to start processing up these guys. So all the ones that I just pulled the seeds out of have gone inside of my little stick mix, my little blender thingy. So I'm just going to give these guys a blend up. And that is all it needs. And now I'm going to run through my blender to my little other toy. Now this little contraption here is my little tomato separator. So you get all the solids coming out of this part here, and then all the juice comes out of here. So it will separate off all the skins, the seeds, and those sort of things that I don't want. And it will just give me a very nice plain sauce. Alright, so I have my little contraption there. The sauce goes straight into the bowl there, and then like that. So I pour that over the top. Juice and all. Give this a bit of a spin. And then out of that lot, all my tomato seeds and skin and that sort of stuff have been separated. And then down the bottom, I have all the sauce. So I'm going to convert all of my tomatoes here into sauce and then get it reducing down into a nice consistency. And this lot goes through a couple more times because there's still a bit of moisture in there that I want to take out. But you can see how the process works. So I won't bore you through the whole lot. I'll just start mixing up all my sauce. Now from my 2 buckets that I had there, I've gotten about 15 litres worth of liquid out of this lot, which I am quite happy with. The scraps that came out, that's all the scraps, so that's all the skin, the seeds and those sort of bits, and the butts at the end of the plants. They are going to go to my chickens, and this lot here is going to get reduced down. So I'm going to boil this until it gets down to probably about there, and then all the tomatoes in here are going to intensify in flavour and just be a hell of a lot nicer, and it will kick the arse of any sauce that you can buy at the shops. Okay, now while my tomatoes are boiling down in there, I'm going to talk you through some cherry tomatoes, or cocktail tomatoes as they're also known. They will come in pretty much any way that you can think of. They'll come in different colours, they'll come in different tastes, sweetness, tartness. Do you want a really tart tomato that makes your mouth go? Do you want to have a really sweet one? I mean, pretty much any variety you can think of, you can get. And one other thing to think of when you're looking at tomatoes is multiflora varieties, which sounds kind of tricky, but they're not that hard. If you look at these ones, the amount, I'll zoom in on them a little bit for you. So these ones are what known as multiflora tomatoes, and it basically means you'll get masses and masses of flowers on each one of the varieties. Have a look at some of the ones that have already gone through. And you just get masses and masses of fruit out of it, which is really cool. But I'll show you some of the other varieties that I've got. And then we have even more fruit that's popping up on some of these guys, which is just growing incredibly. Now these are mostly used for salads and those sort of things, because they are small and they are sweet as all hell, or they're tart, however you really want them, and they go really, really well. So I'm going to pick up some of these guys. So here are some of my cherry tomatoes, and you might look at the difference in cropping that I got from these ones. So this is probably from about 4 or 5 different plants worth, and you compare that to the amount that I actually got from the romas, and you might think, why do you want to grow these ones? Why don't you just grow the tomatoes, the romas, for sauce? But there is a very good reason. I'll probably get about another size from the 6 plants that I've got there, but these ones are going to continue giving me this amount for probably about another 3-4 months now, until it starts getting a bit too cold and summer gets a bit too cold for them. So they just keep on growing throughout the season. And I'm honestly getting probably about this many tomatoes. You can see the big bowl here of the yellow ones, and the different bowls here of these ones. Probably about every 2 weeks they're producing this much, which is masses of tomatoes, and it is going into sauces as well, because these will sauce down perfectly as well. Now, like I said, there are masses of different varieties. You can see some of the ones that I've got here. This one is a tigress tomato. This one is an Amish paste, which is a white pasty sort of cherry tomato. This one is one that I honestly cannot remember. And the slightly smaller one here is a lollipop tomato, which is a commercial variety of tomato, but it grows so well that it isn't funny, and the taste is perfect. Now, the next sort we're going to talk about is beefsteak tomatoes, which are equally quite tasty, and I'll go grab some of them as well. Okay, now this bowl of tomatoes here are a mixture of beefsteak tomatoes and salad tomatoes, and there is a couple different sizes and that sort of stuff. The beefsteaks are really large tomatoes that usually produce really, really well. And the salad tomatoes are ones that have masses of different flavors and those sort of things. And as they say, beefsteak go really well in a burger. So if you're making up homemade burgers, trust me when I say, if you slice up one of these into it, they will taste fantastic. And they just come in so many flavors, so many tastes, and those sort of fun things. Now the next thing to compare is heirloom tomatoes versus hybrid ones. Now the heirloom ones are ones that have been passed down generation after generation. This one here is an Amish paste, and it is a heirloom variety. But this one here is a hybrid one. This one is it's supposed to be an indigo rose, but it's a bit too big for that. So it is a hybrid of something else, which I'm not quite sure, but there are a couple good reasons. You might get a lot of people that are very anti-hybrid, but they are extremely nice tomatoes, and they produce a lot better than the other sorts. So take this one, for example, which is an Amish paste, a very, very small tomato, and its fruit is very, very tasty, admittedly, but you compare it to how well it crops against this one, which is a hybrid tomato, beefsteak variety, Italian something or other, and this one will get about 10 times more fruit than this one. This plant probably puts out about a couple kilos worth of fruit a year. This one will put out about 5 kilos worth of fruit, which is a massive difference when you're coming up to crop size and those sort of things. Now the next ones out there are genetically modified tomatoes, and I don't have any of them here because there is pretty much no point for anybody at home wanting to grow genetically grown tomatoes, because the way that they are mostly used at the moment is for rootstocks. So they'll get a tomato that they bred that's going to be very, very disease resistant, very strong, and put a hell of a lot of growth into the main tomato. And it does really, really well, but you won't have any final tomatoes that are this way. So the tops of them are usually another generic sort of tomato that grows really, really well, and then when combined with the genetic modified rootstock, they will just explode in growth and tomatoes and those sort of things. But one thing they aren't is available to people growing at home. So you don't need to worry about that sort of stuff at home, because you are very, very unlikely to find genetically modified tomatoes for any sale anywhere, because they are also strapped down. They are also licensed to the growers that make them as well. So you won't have any chance of finding them at home, but there is a very good chance that if you're buying tomatoes at shops, they are genetically modified ones. Now, I could go into the varieties of tomatoes that I have here, because I have masses of them, and there's Tigress, there's supposedly Indigo Rose, which are huge. There are just regular cropping tomatoes, salad tomatoes, and what have I got down here? And ones like that, which are a ram's horn tomato. And they are all very tasty, but my tastes are going to change to everybody else's tastes. So if you go into places like eBay, you can buy masses of different seeds for very, very cheap. It's ridiculously how cheap and easy they are to find on eBay. And go through the list and find the ones that you like. And there is a fantastic resource online. There's one that's called Tatiana's Tomatoes, and it just has lists of that many tomatoes that are available, the flavors, the disease resistance, the cropping, and those sort of things, which will give you an idea about what you're about to buy and what you're about to plant. Now, with these ones, I am gonna go along and save a hell of a lot more seeds from these ones, because they are growing fantastically. And every year you keep on saving the seeds, you will just get better varieties the next year, because they will just grow so much better the next year if they're seeds that have come acclimatized to your area and growing really, really well. So I'm gonna pick up my best flavored tomatoes, the ones that taste the best, the ones that are cropping the best, and I'm gonna save those seeds and grow them again next year, and then try out a whole batch of other new tomatoes, see which one grows the best for me and which ones grow the most. And the last bit that I want to talk about, the difference between tomato flavors, is indeterminate versus determinate tomatoes, because there is a massive difference. The Romas that I started on first are determinants, which means that they will all pretty much fruit at once and then they are done. But you will get a massive fruit all at once out of those ones. And generally you don't prune them, you don't do anything else. So if you want a really lazy tomato that you just want to make sauce out of, go for the determinants, go for the Romas, go for the San Marzanos, go for those sorts, just grow really, really well. If you want ones that are going to be continually cropping throughout the year, then go for one of these guys, because these will keep on producing throughout the year and you'll get masses of fruit out of it, which is going to be very tasty and very nice. Now, my sauce is bubbling away in there, so I'm going to go and continue on that one, so keep tuned. So this mix just had about an hour and a couple of hours to boil down, and it has reduced to a nice thick consistency, which is going to be very, very tasty. But I'm going to do a little bit more to it because I want to get a little bit more out of it. So here are some of my tomatoes, and these are the regular determinate ones. There are cherries in here, there are just so many different varieties, and they're going to go straight in as well. And they're all the ones that I got the seeds out of and that sort of fun stuff. And here I have all my cherry tomatoes as well. Oop, how'd you sneak through? And this one has all my cherry tomatoes, so all those fantastic ones. And they're going straight in there as well. Now, all these little cherry tomatoes are gonna give a nice pop. So that hopefully they're not gonna break down too much, because I don't wanna break them down, otherwise I would have put them in earlier. But I just wanna cook them off just slightly in here. But I want to cook them off just slightly, and then they're going to go into the bottles. So the idea is when I'm going to cook with this stuff, I'll have a nice base sauce, and then I'll have all these tomatoes in there with it, which should taste fantastic once it's actually done. So I'm going to let this boil for a minute or so, and then it's going to get time to start making a sauce out of it. Okay, so this mixture is just about on the boil, which is where I want it. So the tomatoes are just starting to break down, which is perfect for my needs. So these ones are little Bell mason jars, which you use for bottling everything, and they come in and they are perfect for what I want. Okay, now they're going in the oven there for probably about half an hour, but just until I can see the cans are boiling, then I'm going to put lids on them and then keep on going. Now the sad thing is that these jars actually cost more to buy than the actual sauce itself would be too. But I've run out of jars, so I need a few more of them. Okay, if you guys can see in there, you'll see that some of them are boiling. Ignore the steam, sorry. You see that they're very slightly boiling, which means that it's sterilizing the jars that are around it and just boiling off any nasties that could be in there. So I'm gonna whack the lids on these and then put them back in there for another 10 minutes so that you can really sterilize and become very, very safe. Now with these in the oven, there is actually a real risk of explosion. So if the lid's on too tight and these come out, then it could cause an actual explosion, and with something really red hot, it is not something you particularly want to risk. So I've got these guys out now, and I'll let them cool down a little bit. So I let them cool down before I took them out, and these lids are now going to be tightened up fully. So they'll create a proper seal on it, and then nothing bad will come out of these. Now I hope you guys enjoyed that and got something out of it, and I got plenty of tomato sauce out of that, which I am quite happy with. And I have also saved up more seeds than what I am ever going to need. So I'm gonna have, probably when these guys are ready, I'll do another video and give some of them away, so keep tuned for that one. And I hope you guys enjoyed. So I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching. And if it's the first video of mine, then make sure you subscribe. I'll come a page after this, make sure you subscribe over there. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks guys.